South Africa has just told Israel's most senior diplomat to pack his bags and leave the country, a move typically only seen in cases involving spying or national security. And as expected, it has triggered an immediate retaliation from Israel. So our government has just declared Israel's charge d'affaires, Ariel Seidman, persona non grata. Now, look, I know that's a mouthful, but in diplomatic terms, that's the strongest step short of cutting relations altogether. It essentially means that the host country no longer recognizes the diplomat as legitimate, and they are formally no longer welcome. And look, it's rare, it's deliberately confrontational, and it's an escalation by design. And this time, it escalated quickly. So according to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, also referred to as DIRCO, this decision followed repeat violations of diplomatic norms. So officials say that Seidman used official Israeli platforms to publicly criticize President Ramaphosa and facilitated visits by Israeli officials without informing the South African government. Now, DIRCO says that behavior breached basic diplomatic protocol and challenged South Africa's sovereignty. So look, you wouldn't have needed a crystal ball to know that Israel would have responded within hours, going ahead and declaring South Africa's representative to the Palestinian Authority, Sean Benefeld, persona non grata, and giving him the same 72-hour deadline to leave the country. And so look, while he isn't actually accredited to Israel, the move still carries weight. In case you didn't know, South Africa no longer has an ambassador to Israel, so Benefeld is its main diplomatic link to the Palestinian authorities. And because Israel controls access to the West Bank, it reportedly has leverage over South Africa's ability to operate there. Now, this escalation lands on top of an already frozen relationship. You see, since South Africa took Israel to the International Court of Justice over the war in Gaza, ambassadors have been withdrawn and trust has been thinned. And so declaring a diplomat persona non grata isn't about venting anger, or at least it shouldn't be. It's about enforcing boundaries. And this move signals that South Africa is prepared to draw a line, even when the consequences are somewhat predictable, very public, and likely to escalate further. So we have that public escalation, but not every decision today comes with a 72-hour deadline. Showmax hasn't been cancelled, but it has been somewhat downgraded. You see, the platform is still live, still signing up users, and still pushing content, yet its new owner has made one thing very clear. Showmax is not a commercial success. Now, that owner is Canal, the French media giant that completed its takeover of MultiChoice last year. And so in briefings with investors, the new leadership says that Showmax has lost significant amounts of money after years of heavy spending on technology, marketing, and original content. And those costs are now being reviewed as part of a wider drive to cut billions of rands from the group's expenses. Now, the key point here is what isn't happening. You see, Canal says that it won't just rip the band-aid off. There's no sudden shutdown, no overnight pivot. Instead, Showmax is being put on what looks like a probation. Investment trimmed, losses reduced, and future spending justified line by line. And so for South African viewers, that likely means a quieter phase ahead as Showmax tries to prove it can be sustainable and not just, the next Netflix. So while that's the shift happening to Showmax, not every move today is about expansion. If you've ever eaten at Steers, Wimpy, Debonair's, or Mug and Bean, you've already given money to famous brands, even if you've never heard of them. It's one of South Africa's biggest restaurant groups, and this week it made a telling move. Instead of expanding or buying something new, it's decided that the best investment right now is itself. So Famous Brands has approved a share buyback of up to 5% of its shares starting in February, running up until the end of May. Now, that decision follows a period of deleveraging, essentially paying down debts and strengthening its balance sheet, which has left the group with surplus cash. And so the board's view is simple. The market isn't fully valuing what the business is worth, so buying its own shares beats letting the cash sit idle. So in practical terms, buying back shares means that the company is using its own cash to invest in itself rather than expanding elsewhere. It's a move we're seeing more often from these big JSE companies with strong balance sheets. And so in Famous Brands' case, it's a quiet vote of confidence that the restaurants that South Africans already know still have room to deliver long-term value. And before we cruise on to our Bagel Bite of the day, here's a couple other headlines worth knowing. For starters, Jeffreys Bay being dropped from the World Surf League has sparked political fallout, with critics blaming Sports Minister Gayton McKenzie for failing to secure funding, while McKenzie insists that no formal request was ever submitted and calls the backlash politically motivated. After years of semigration to Cape Town, some property groups are reportedly seeing more people moving back to Gauteng, driven by expensive housing, poor job prospects, school access issues, and growing congestion and costs in the Western Cape. And fruit exporters are considering legal action after congestion at the port of Cape Town left up to 1 billion rand worth of produce at risk, with industry groups blaming Transnet's underperforming container terminal for mounting losses. And just a quick announcement, the votes are in for the 100K challenge and the people have spoken. If we hit 100,000 YouTube subscribers by the 1st of September, which is 6 months from now, I'll be challenging Drickus du Plessis to a round of boxing. Now, that part's locked in. Whether or not we actually get there is up to the community. So help us get to 100K and we'll make it official. Or don't, I really don't mind. And on to our bagel bite of the day. Let's see what you got. The question is, what is the term for a word that is spelled the same forwards and backwards? Is it A, isogram, B, palindrome, or C, homograph? We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. South Africa is heading to the 2026 Olympics with its biggest team ever, which is no small thing for a country better known for beaches than blizzards. Winter sport has always been a logistical nightmare for South Africans. There's no local snow circuits, no casual pathway, and qualifying usually means spending years chasing winter across Europe at enormous personal cost. And so that's why our Winter Olympic history is so thin. I mean, since debuting in 1960, South Africa has never won a medal. So this year's squad marks a shift. Two teenage alpine skiers, Thomas Ware and Laura Markthaler, are joined by freestyle skier Malika Mulherber, skeleton athlete Nicole Berger, and cross-country skier Matthew Smith. Now, all five are making their Olympic debuts, and all five have taken vastly different, demanding routes to get there. So as the Winter Olympics kick off in 5 days, it's worth saying this. Even in the least South African sporting conditions imaginable, 5 South Africans have earned the right to be there and to wave the flag high. We're wishing them all the very best. Go get them. And as for that bagel bite, the answer is palindrome, a word or phrase that reads the same forwards and backwards. Think race car or level or anyone named Hannah. It's linguistic symmetry at its finest. And my friends, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Wishing you all a fantastic Monday ahead. We'll catch you all tomorrow for the next round of the good stuff. God bless.